Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 121. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and if you may have noticed, it has been less than a week since the last episode. We've been on a roll around here recently. After a couple of weeks of struggling to get the show back off the ground, we've hit a bit of a stride and we have a glut of new episodes to share with you. Some of the information contained in these episodes is time sensitive, so in an effort to get them all out in time, I'm just going to start dropping episodes when we have them available. Maybe it'll take a week, maybe it'll take 4 or 5 days, maybe it'll take 10 days. I hope that release schedule isn't too terrible for all of you, but I promise we'll try to keep the content coming rather steadily. Today's guest is none other than my pal Landon Defever. He's a podcaster, a writer, and a general music industry personality who can be found on Twitter and all over the World Wide Web sharing his thoughts on music. Landon and I have been Twitter friends for the better part of the last half-decade probably, but this conversation that you're about to hear happened the very first time we met in person. Landon came to my apartment, or as I like to call it, the cat house here at the... actually, that's a bad word. We shouldn't use that. Cat house is a terrible term, and it just dawned on me why it's terrible. Okay, so anyways, Landon came to my house, and we had a great conversation about the music business, his role in it, how it's changed, how he continues to be involved even though he works outside of the music industry sector full time, and a whole lot else. We get into the Oscars there at the end. This is really just a fun conversation between two people who tend to like the same things, mostly. The things we don't like, we discuss at length, but we never fight. And yeah, I don't know. I really had fun with this one. Landon is a great guy and somebody that I believe should have a lot more followers and be given a lot more credit than sometimes he receives. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm excited to share it with you. But first, I have to tell you a few quick things. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music is brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading digital promotional distribution company. And what that means is that Holix works with record labels, managers, and independent artists from all over the world to share new and unreleased music without fear of piracy. For more information on this and access to a free 30-day trial, visit holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. I'd also like to encourage you to follow Inside Music on Twitter. It's at Inside Music Pod or Inside Music POD. We post updates about guests, we post links to things that our guests have been working on, music industry advice, and a whole lot more. And building that follower account really helps us to attract new guests, larger, more high-profile guests. So if everyone could do that, that'd be really helpful. And finally, I have an even bigger favor to ask. And I hate to ask favors because I know every week I'm like, follow the show, tell your friends, blah, blah, blah. But our big sponsor, Holix, has been doing a ton of upgrades recently, and they have a great service that I would love to hear more people talking about. So if you like this show and you want to see it continue, send a tweet that's, something to the extent of, we love Holix, or more people should use Holix. Get the word out there, because the more the word gets out there, the more we can connect it to this show, the more episodes of the show we can make. So continue to promote Holix. You'll be helping me out, and in a way, helping yourself out. Okay, I've rambled for more than long enough. I'm going to play a little bit of a song from the band Hot Mulligan, somebody that Landon and I are both huge fans of. And yeah, we're going to get to the show. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the conversation, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Come on, see the kid who can't breathe. It's time to explain why his voice has been failing. Pouring over bottles cause you wanted to. Follow father's model so the blame can fall on anyone except for you.
Hey, bam, yeah,
There we go. We're good.
we're recording. So many takes. Have you ever lost a podcast?
Have I ever lost a podcast? I think once in college, I did one for my high school, college newspaper. It was the Valley Vanguard, the student-run newspaper of Saginaw Valley. That's where I went for my bachelor's. And I think that happened once, and we had to re-record a couple of times. And I know, well, at first, I was going to say James Cassar and I were actually going to start a podcast about Nintendo 64, and that actually happened twice on the pilot. And I think after both of those times, we decided to just pass on it, or just go a different direction with it. He's just gonna do it with someone else. But I remember, for the pilot, the first time that happened, he was actually, what happened with that? I think what happened, I think we just kind of lost track of time and everything with the first one, and I don't know, whatever it was, we just decided to scrap it. And then for the second one, my mic was turned up like way too loud, and that's what ended up happening for the second one. So we just kind of realized we didn't want to record a third one. So that has happened to me before.
Yeah, I've been there. I don't know. I've lost like maybe 1 or 2 podcasts. I've lost quite a few interviews in my day. Mm-hmm. I've definitely had to do an interview again. We were just talking about one before I hit record.
Yeah.
That one's weird because I can see it, but I can't hear it. What have you lost an interview?
I don't think I have. I think I've been incredibly lucky with that. With that aspect of it, at least.
You lucky duck.
Yeah.
I did. I remember I interviewed Shant from Cute Is What We Aim For about attempted suicide. He tried to kill himself.
Oh, shit.
And Alternative Press was like, do you want to interview him? I was like, absolutely. About this very specific thing. And so we did like a 35-minute conversation, and I hung up and didn't record a single word.
Oh, shit.
So then I had to call him back and be like, hey, tell me about when you tried to kill yourself again. Like in detail.
God.
So I was like, remember last time, wasn't there like this? Or I was like trying to
like trying to create leading responses.
Because like the first time he was like, yeah, so in detail. And he was like, I woke up on my floor and there was like a pool of blood. And then the second time he was like, I woke up on my floor and it was really bad. And you're like, but didn't you say there was like blood and stuff the first time? He was like, oh yeah, I guess. And I was like,
holy shit, that's rough.
I remember calling, it wasn't Heisel, it wasn't Mike Shea, it was Tim, whatever his last name is. And I remember calling him and being like, listen, I don't have any of it.
Oh shit.
Like any of it. And he was like, any of it?
What happened? What did you end up doing with it?
Again, I just did it again.
No, I mean like, but you still like ran it and everything.
If you look up, Cute Is What We Aim For talks about committing suicide. It's still on the All Press website.
Okay. No, I just never saw that posted or anything. No, I was just curious. I was just curious.
And when I had my falling out with Alt Press, well, when I left Alt Press, they a lot of my old posts got changed to staff posts, or someone deleted my author page, but not my name from the database. So I have there's a James Shotwell page, but it doesn't have like any of my articles.
God, that's a stupid.
Because it's like it's all like messed up. So that was like that's like the worst one I've lost. But I've also definitely I recently had one not that long ago where it only recorded my voice. Mm-hmm. It's like I finished the interview. And I went back and I was like, hey, this is a killer interview. And so just be like, so then what happened? And 40 seconds of silence and, ha, that's amazing. Tell me more. And they were just like, holy shit. And I was like, what is this?
Oh my God.
What is this?
I feel like that's happened to me before where I can't remember who I can't remember. I couldn't for the life of you tell me who I was interviewing, but I remember what happened at the time was like, I think, well, the person who I was interviewing's voice was like super soft. So I had to like turn it up all the way to like just barely hear what they were saying. Yeah. So it was salvageable at least. And then I would come in and then it would be at max volume and like you said, I'd be like, ha 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 ha. Like it would be super loud and obnoxious.
Let me blow it out for you real quick.
Exactly. And sometimes, and a lot of the time I like listen to, like when I transcribe, I just put my headphones on. So it was like even that much worse. Like my voice, my loud ass voice is like right in my ears. Yeah. So yeah, that's very, very relatable for sure.
So how long have you been writing about music?
Oh gosh, I think.
How old are you?
I'm 25. I just turned 25 a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're only 5 years younger than me. You're bigger than me, so I don't know. Like you're a tall guy.
A lot of people say that
so
about me too.
Age.
A lot of people think I'm way older than I'm actually. For people that don't know me personally, I'm 6'6", 6'7" in that range. So yeah, I get.
You're almost tall enough that I feel like you should warn people. Like just a heads up. Like I told you I had cats. You should be like, just so you know, I'm 6'7".
Well, what's so funny is like we've known each other. I swear to God, for it feels like 4 or 5 years, something like that. And this is the first time we've ever met. Mm-hmm. And I guess I just with a lot of people that I like in the state that I talk to a lot and go to shows with and see in person a lot of the time, like especially in Michigan, just kind of know that about me, or I like post about it and stuff. So I didn't think to say that. But okay, sorry. Getting back to what you asked, I started writing when I was a sophomore in college. I just did it independently at first. I remember the first thing that I ever did like by myself, freelance, was you remember back in like the 2011, 2012 Warped Tour did like those weekly band announcements where they would every week they would announce like 5 or 6 bands until like the main stage announcement like at the end of March when they usually get announced. And I just kind of wrote like a blog. I just opened a blog spot where I just wrote about like the bands that would get announced and stuff and just published it. And a few weeks in, one of my friends who was writing for Mind Equals Blown got a hold of me and I just showed it to him. At first I showed it to him and said, hey, what do you think of this? Is this good? Is this well written? And he told me he really liked it. And he told me that, hey, I can talk to my boss if you want to do these for Mind Equals Blown. And I was like, yeah, totally. That sounds awesome. So I did those like throughout the entire year. And then I just slowly got weaned into doing like album reviews, which eventually came I'm sorry. Did I say album reviews? Mm-hmm. Okay. I thought I said album interviews. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Okay. I'm just kind of rambling, but yeah, I started doing album reviews, which transitioned into band interviews. And then I just became a full-on staff writer for them. And I wrote for them for about 2.5 years or so, and then I just kind of wanted to cut my teeth on something different, and that's when I talked to Tim Dotteridge, actually, for he was writing for Mind Equals Blown and Substream, and I asked him about it, and he told me he loved writing for them, so I just sent him some samples, and they asked me to write for them too. So I wrote for them for about 3 or 4 years, and then when I got my new first big boy salary job, I stopped writing for them, but I still write for them once in a while or pitch things that kind of tickle my interest.
Big boy salary job. What do you do for a big boy salary job?
I'm a tech writer. I'm not going to say where I work just because I want to swear on this podcast and feel comfortable saying, hey, so I don't.
Yeah.
But I write for a big power company. I'll say that. I write for them in Jackson, and I've been with them about 7 or 8 months now, and I really like it a lot. I still do some music writing on the side. I'm very active on Twitter and stuff like that, but as far as writing regularly, I kind of stopped when I got this new job.
And you have a podcast.
I do. My friend Brad LaPlante, who I know you interviewed recently.
He's sitting in that same chair.
Is he really? Wow, yeah. I feel so famous. But yeah, it's fun. I've known him since, I think, Bloodfest 2016, but the first time we recorded a podcast, the pilot episode a couple weeks ago was the first time we'd met in person. It was another case of where I knew you over the years for doing many different things. And then, I don't know, I just saw Brad really active on his own personal YouTube account. And I honestly kind of saw a lot of me and him and how passionate he was about music and just kind of being a self-starter and just doing things for himself. So I just reached out to him after being friends for a couple of years. And I told him I was interested in collaborating, doing some kind of thing together on his YouTube channel. And I asked him to come over to my place in Jackson, and we were going to record just some album interviews on his YouTube channel, and he brought all of his film recording equipment. Before we did that, though, we went to Steak and Shake to have dinner and just talk. And the more we chatted about what we kind of wanted to do with it, we realized it would probably be better suited as some kind a podcast of sorts, more of a conversation, more of a heavily structured but loose conversation sort of thing. So very last minute, we decided to just make it a podcast and organize it that way. And yeah, we've done a couple episodes so far, and we're gonna meet on Friday to do episode 3.
What's it called again?
It's called Say What You're Thinking.
Say What You're Thinking.
And it's funny. I was just we were just thinking of titles one day, we were just texting each other, and I was just looking through songs because a lot of the podcasts that I listen to were just very deliberate, direct sort of things, and I tried to think of I was looking at song lyrics and band lyrics and things that just jumped out to me as far as criticizing the scene and looking at things more critically in general. And I was just looking at Against Me songs, and no, it's cool. No, so we're looking at it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at Against Me songs, and the song Kiss and Vinegar came up, and there's that whole song is them being very critical of Panic at the Disco, actually.
Yeah.
And now that a lot of those lyrics really resonated in me, because I guess the big thing I wanted to do with this podcast was just let people be free and not be afraid to be critical of the things they're listening to, not in a mean way, but just having concrete, solid things to say, and just not be afraid to just put yourself out there and have solid opinions, clearly stating them, sort of thing like that. So that was the main ethos behind me wanting to start this type of a podcast. And yeah, it worked out well because Brad kind of is in that same boat. He's been just as critical of record. And it's funny because all the records we've reviewed so far, I've been pretty mixed on, just pretty straightforward, they're good enough sort of thing. And it's kind of cool because he's been more positive too. So it's nice to have a back and forth that isn't always, I don't know. We
love it.
Exactly. I love it. This is great. Yeah. Cause I don't know. I don't know. I just look at a lot of album reviews and stuff like that. And I just think I think things are way too
positive.
Yeah. And writing reviews to be I don't know, like with the mindset of like, I hope the band reads this and likes it sort of thing. And they kind of let that get in the way. And I'll be honest, I did that a lot too when I was like 20, 21.
Yeah.
When the older I get though, the more not afraid to just say what I feel about it, I guess.
Well, I think I've been talking to somebody about this recently. Well, it's been a thorn in my side for like the last year since Alt Press got rid of their scores and their reviews, which to me was like, okay, well now we aren't doing album reviews anymore. This is just 20 albums you think I should buy.
Pretty much,
you know what I mean? Because if there's no score, then like, what's the point? Of doing it's not a review.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Substream, I've definitely seen. Like, I used to tweet out, and every time I get a new issue of Alternative Press, I'd be like, this issue of Alternative Press, there's 35 reviews, and 30 of them are 3.5 stars or higher. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be like, the other 5 are 3 stars. They would never be lower than 3 stars.
And that's a big, like, trend that I noticed with that. Because what's great, too, is because, like, when I started getting into Alternative Press, I think it was around 2009, 2010 time. That's about when I was, like starting to go to Warped Tour and becoming a little bit more immersed in the scene. I really liked those years those immediate years when I was checking them out, because like the reviews would be all over the place. Like I have back issues where I go through and specifically look for like 1 or 2 star reviews, because it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. You don't see that much.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know, like, and two, like I go back to like Pitchfork reviews from like the early 2000s and look at all the like radio rock records that were being pushed at the time, like bands like the Donnas and OK Go and Jet and things like that, and looking at Pitchfork reviews where everyone was giving them like good enough marks, they were giving them like 2s and 3s and things like that. It's kind of cool to see, and that's what made me interested to like look and see, like, I don't know, just kind of look back, and it was kind of cool to see people not, like Pitchfork in general and Alternative Press, not get caught up in the zeitgeist of a record coming out.
Yeah, I used to when Heisel was on the show, Scott Heisel from Alternative Press, I always thanked him, because like I will, until the day I die, I never remember reviews, because you read hundreds of them, you've written hundreds of them.
Yeah.
But I remember he reviewed that Alisana album on Frail Wings of Wax and Vanity.
Okay.
And that was like when they had first come out, and that album was so huge to like that scene, that screamo scene, that he gave it a 0-star review in the magazine.
I didn't know that.
Gave it a 0-star review, and in it suggested they sell their instruments. And I remember reading that in the magazine and being like, holy shit, you can say that about a band? And I've told him many times that, like, that is my favorite thing you've ever... He's always like, I don't think I remember being that mean. And I was like, it was, dude. Like, because I didn't like Alisana at that time. I remember reading and being like, someone gets it.
And that's the thing. Like, I'll be completely honest. Like, there are bands that, like, I wouldn't have checked out if they wouldn't have gotten negative reviews from Alternative Press. Like, when you go back to that Set Your Goals review that he did of This Will Be the Death of Us, where the last line of the review is, it must really suck to be 4 years strong right now, which eventually would become a song that they would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have checked it. I didn't know who 4 Years Strong was at the time. I had just started checking out Set Your Goals because they were playing Warped Tour the following summer, so I checked their music out. And I saw that at the end. I was like, oh, do they have beef or something, those two bands? And then I looked into it a little further and saw all the stuff that went on with that. Like, okay, but now I like 4 Years Strong a lot, and I like Set Your Goals a lot. It's like, they both gained fans. Yeah,
well, I feel like I've been wondering about this a lot recently. So what broke the meaningfulness of album reviews for the alternative scene? Was it social? I think it's social media, because I remember when it mattered that a band would share your content, and like it was cool if a band retweeted your content. Bands used to retweet like every review of their album.
Oh yeah,
and now they're way more selective about it. And I feel like that's part of the problem, is every time if you're drafting content, you're drafting it with, like you said, will they like it, which translates to will they share it, so that it then gets shares and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can tell you, no matter what we wrote on Substream in this month so far, this whole month, the biggest article that we've had is this Secrets premiere, because they included it in their pre-order announcement as like the official pre-order link.
Oh, okay.
So like that was the biggest. So it doesn't matter if we wrote you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like it automatically matters who shares it. And I think that idea of like what we have to create shareable content is what has maybe broken opinion.
And the same thing too kind of goes, yeah, exactly, like the same thing goes with interviews. Like I remember back in August I can't remember what it was exactly. I interviewed Anthony Ranieri to talk about The Walking Wounded, basically. Yeah. And I don't know, like we ended up not using it in the magazine, but we ended up putting it online, and the band shared it on their Facebook page, and that broke like I don't remember the specific amount of hits, but I remember you even messaged me and told me the band shared it. Congrats, man! Like we got a ton of hits off this thing, and I was so excited about that.
When we have even when we do cover discussions for Substream, like we pick a cover star, and then the first conversation is like, okay, well, how many followers do they have? How will they tweet about it? And then if we don't ask, then they might not post about it. And it's so weird because when you and I were first starting, even though you're a few years younger than me, but like 2008 to 2011 blog scene, like it's impossible to imagine somebody not sharing something that big because like everyone shared everything.
Oh yeah.
But now like we could put somebody, I'm trying to think of who was just on the cover before Marshall, was Bleachers, like getting Bleachers to tweet like, I'm on the cover of Substream. It's like breaking an arm. And you're like, why? Like you're on the cover of a magazine. It's in stores around the country and it's still like, can you please post that on your Instagram?
Exactly, yeah.
And now it's weird because artists have this personal brand that they feel they have to manage. So like when it comes to the Marshmallow story that on stands right now.
Did he share that, by the way?
He's retweeted it on his channel, but he hasn't tweeted it. And when we were like, can you put it on Instagram? They were like, well, he can probably put it on his Instagram story, but not his Instagram feed. And then they were like, well, and he can do it on his story, but it can't be this week because we have too many announcements. And because he has one of those verified accounts, he can do like the swipe up to order and stuff. So they're like, there's too many new things happening this week. And literally every week since then, he's like, he had a new song last week. He has a new video this week. He's having these things. They're like, we'll put it in the story at some point. And so it's like these weird little pockets. You're like, okay, but I don't understand. It's your first magazine cover. You know what I mean? It's a huge opportunity. It's a great story. You liked it. You worked very hard with us to make it. Yeah. And then it's done, and they're like, thanks. It's cool. It's really cool. I feel like that's one of the things that is kind of killing music, which is kind of what I want to talk to you about, was the idea of like, this is what I keep talking to everybody about this week, the last couple of weeks, is the idea of like, can we get a new like influencer? How do you even, is it possible to have a new alternative press? Not like a replacement alternative press, but we're entering a new generation for the alternative scene. Warped Tour is passing on, and like it or not, at some point Mike Shea is going to retire, and I don't know that unless Pettigrew wants to carry the torch after him.
He's the only person on staff like that has there's no one around.
He has no one to pass it to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there is a timeline on that magazine too, and I find myself wondering, like, we're losing all of kind of the cornerstones. So can we get a new communal gathering point? Like what is going to keep the community together? Because as much as you can say like a band can succeed in a niche, you need that bigger community to kind of launch a band. So like a band like All Time Low only becomes who they are now because they played the Basements, and then they played Warped Tour, and then they played Warped Tour's main stage, and you got to like build them up as a community, but we don't have any system to do that anymore.
For sure, yeah.
And I feel like that's what's killing us.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Yeah, I think especially with Warped Tour, there was definitely that kind of a hierarchy that, I don't know, that like you said, built bands up.
You could watch a band grow.
And kind of anticipate, too, when bands would be playing Warped Tour certain years and things like that. Especially now, I don't know what's going to happen. I'd imagine, because Kevin said he's interested in doing some kind of, like similar punk festival, but in, like, fewer cities. Sort of thing.
The rumor I heard is that it'll be, like, coastal. Like Warped Tour East, Warped Tour West.
Okay, I was hoping
because Riot Fest has Chicago.
I figured that was as much. Like I didn't think it would make sense to do like a big Warped Tour Chicago thing because Riot Fest kind of takes care of that already.
But everyone's pretty tight-lipped about it. Everyone just says non-traditional Warped Tour.
I'd be interested too to see like maybe Detroit area too, because Self Help came to Detroit and it did pretty well. I would say
a horrible venue, but it did very well.
And that's like I have no idea where they're going to do Warped Tour Detroit this year. I have not heard any whisper about that. I know Kevin said on Twitter he was like working it out right now, but I have no idea where they're going to do it. DTE doesn't really make sense.
No.
And that Freedom Hill where Self Help was, it's way too small. Like it's like what I think 10,000 cap with the layout,
but it's a flat ground.
That's
For those that don't live in Michigan, Freedom Hill is essentially 10,000 people, a space that can hold 10,000 people that's just flat and filled with concrete.
Kind of an amphitheater too, but they have like a field out there too where they put the main stage.
There is a hill.
Yeah.
A hill. but it's not great.
Yeah,
It's
not a good thing. And plus, like, Warped Tour, I think, is one of the like highest grossing cities as far as like a number of attendees go. Like, I think they've pulled like 15 to 20,000, which is higher than a lot of Warped Tour dates. So they'd really have to cut down their cap too. So I have no idea where they're going to put it this year.
Yeah, well,
I'm very curious what they end up doing with it.
I think it'll be that way in a lot of cities, actually.
Right.
Not just Detroit, but Detroit is a funny one. I just, I was talking to Jenna Pell about this the other day, and it's something that we've been talking about with some of the Substream contributors, is this idea of the economic ripple effect from Warped Tour. Mm-hmm. And like, you're one of these people, I'm sure, like, you used to buy like your school wardrobe at Warped Tour. Like, you know what I mean? You'd be like, well, I got to go school shopping for the fall, so I'll buy like 5 band shirts.
Mm-hmm. Or before that, I would just go to Hot Topic. But I'm kind of past
but
that
Warped Tour
point.
had the exclusive designs where you're like, I can only get those on Warped Tour. So like people would spend a ton of money there. And there are bands that definitely make more money per day on Warped Tour than they make any other day of the year on tour. Just based on the amount of people they're able to stand in front of every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're a $300 a night mid band on tour all year long, you're never going to sell what you sell a single day on Warped Tour. It just doesn't happen. Like when I was out on our stage, we had an unsigned artist who didn't have a record deal and wasn't even like a Warped Tour band necessarily. They were still doing like 3 to 5K a day in merch sales.
Wow.
For 21 days.
That's wild.
Like crazy money. Mm-hmm. I remember the year I was out, Motionless in White was minimum $10,000 a day in merch sales.
Holy hell.
Plus whatever they get from Kevin as their guarantee, which is tiny. But like, so you can imagine a Day to Remember does like 20K a day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's real money. And in a world without the Warped Tour,
where are they going to go?
How do those bands do that?
Exactly. Like, and because I don't know, there have been a lot of festivals too that have tried to do what Warped Tour does, and sometimes in clubs like Scream It Like You Mean It was one of them. I know Summer Slaughter still does their own thing, but that's a very niche market too.
And the All Stars tour.
The All Stars tour. I never got to go to that.
That was messy. It was like too much.
I never got to go to that. I remember seeing the poster for it in 2011 when I went to Bloodfest, and that was the first year I ever went to that. And yeah, the lineup looked crazy. Like I couldn't believe they were able to like accrue this kind of a lineup. But
a huge heavy tour that just didn't work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so no one can do that. So I worry that what's going to happen is these bands can't go on that kind of tour again. So we're going to see less tours and maybe more festivals. But festivals aren't the answer. I think the reason that Warped Tour works for bands is that they pay you way less to do Warped Tour, but there's that volume. I'll pay you. You kick way under what your guarantee would be, but you're guaranteed to be exposed to 20,000 kids a day for 40 years. Yeah. So you can make that merch money up. In a world without Warped Tour, bands will never have those opportunities. And I think that it's not just the bands will have to tour less, but it's bigger than that. Bands have to tour less because they're making less money, which means the people that support those bands, labels, make less money, which means more labels go out of business, which means blah, 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 and it all.
I've always wondered this too. I'd be very interested in looking at Facebook like counts on the first day of the tour and the last day of the tour to see what bands are able to accrue in that whatever 6 or 7 weeks that they're on Warped Tour for. Yeah. That'd be kind of interesting.
And you can't duplicate that also.
Oh, for sure. I can't imagine another tour getting the same results.
I recorded another podcast yesterday with this band Capital North. Will be on the week after you. You're gonna jump them in line.
Hey, what up?
Their album's out on the 2nd. Shout out to Capital North, but they're a band who last summer followed Warped Tour. Last 2 summers, they did the Work the Line thing. And so we were talking about it, and they're like, we don't know what we're gonna do to like promote in the summer because they supported themselves. That's how big Warped Tour is. There's a sub-economy of bands that support themselves just following Warped Tour. Mm-hmm. So there's all these people that are now without jobs. And I think, some inside baseball, Side One Dummy recently had to shed a whole bunch of people from their staff.
I was curious about that because it sucked to say goodbye to Jamie.
So what I've heard...
She was the big bruise, and I love that label.
What I understand, no sources being named, is that the label's decision was that they want to become a catalog label, which they're going to stop putting out new releases. They're going to let all the bands go off the label and just kind of start doing older stuff and non-traditional releases like greatest hits, stuff like that. But they shed 3 staff members. They have not shed the bands. They continue to promote all the bands. So I think we're still going to see some of those records come out. But I think bigger picture, Side One Dummy has always relied heavily financially on the Warped Tour sampler.
That's a good point.
It's been a cornerstone of their business for as long as Warped Tour has been a thing. And a huge, like more than 10% of their total revenue was Warped Tour Was that sampler?
See, I didn't know that.
So I think what we're seeing right here, that move by them, is preemptive what we will see next year from maybe Fearless, Hopeless, Epitaph.
That would be cool to see them, because a lot of those like sub labels, I know what you mean, like I don't know, like they have a big chunk of representation as far as bands
at Warped Tour.
At Warped Tour, oh yeah, because Fearless usually has like 8 or 9 bands out of summer,
one on every stage minimum.
That see that I didn't work out, but I knew that they always had at least 8 or 9 because they would like advertise that super heavily in
they have a whole
press.
tent.
Yeah.
So then you're selling their merch, and you're gonna a piece of all the bands on the tour's merch because you're the label. So all that money now gone.
Right.
So I think that what Side One did, and as shocking as it was, that might be what a lot of labels have to do to keep the lights on moving forward. Because because how are you gonna get kids to buy records? I don't understand. Like, I understand why Warped Tour has to end, but I feel like we're letting a lot of things change in our scene without coming up with what we're going to replace them with, and we just accept the void.
I think that's a huge part of it too, because I feel like especially last year, like when you look at the lineup, a lot of the bands that played were bands that had either never played before or bands that played like in the early 2000s or even 90s and stuff, but didn't really. I don't know, that didn't really come back to the tour. They played it because it was the it thing to do, and then they kind of ran off and did their own thing. Like Hatebreed was one of those bands, and they played most of the tour last year. And then you got bands like Gwar and there are other ones. I know there are, but Gwar was a big example because I was like shocked when I heard they were going to play Warped Tour because I'd been wanting to see them for so long, but just always assumed they would be playing like small clubs in areas that I don't really get to that much, and I just never thought I'd get to see them. And then they came to Warped Tour, and then soon after I went to Riot Fest 2 and saw them there. But they were they were a band that I'd been wanting to see for so long, and it sucks because like it's hard too because I know Warped Tour gets a lot of flack for especially post Front Porch Step appearance. They got a lot of flack for, and I think that was kind of the blot, like it was, I don't know, it was kind of the blow up of a lot of bands in the scene, like getting like a lot of like sexual harassment, assaults, allegations, and things like that.
And that goes back to what I was trying to point out, is that my thought on that, and this is the conversation that people don't have about the sexual assault stuff, is that we're very quick to be like, well, get the fuck out. And I agree, get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, you're not welcome. But no one ever says, get the fuck out now, here's what we're going to do instead. You know what I mean? They're like, burn down Warped Tour, but no one has an idea for what else to do.
Right. And I think that's what ended up happening with last year. I think it turned off a lot of bands. Like, I know there are, I won't say which band, but there were bands that were like seminally a part of the tour that, had this not happened with Front Porch Step and the growing culture and how Kevin reacted to a lot of things and some of the bands he booked, I know that's not an easy job, but for real. There were a lot of seminal bands that just turned them off to because there's that punk like credibility and ethos behind that, and they left because like, screw this, we're not going to be part of this anymore because of their unwillingness to adapt.
But I would bet that some of those bands will be on this year's lineup because, again, they notice that the golden ticket is leaving the station, and they're like, well, I mean, one more run. Every time I've interviewed a band, the band we talked about me interviewing before we started this from last night even, they were like, we have some stuff this summer, but like, there's casual, like, well, we'll mention that tour exists. You know, just we might pop up a day or two on that run. You know what I mean? We'll take your money. We just don't want to be associated with it necessarily.
For sure. But from what I've heard about the tour, like, because I'm very active on Chorus too, the music forum website, formerly Absolute Punk. I'm very active on the Warped Tour page of that, and like I actually started a spreadsheet that I keep, that when a leak would announce or someone would say, oh yeah, I heard that, I talked to this member of this band and they said they're not playing or they're going to play. I've been keeping track of it in a spreadsheet and stuff, so like based on what I've heard from the spreadsheet, I am pretty impressed with what I've been hearing. Yeah. So I'm going to definitely do the Detroit date, maybe Cleveland if everything pans out with who is expected to play, but I'm excited. I'm excited nevertheless. I do think there is a lot of good in Warped Tour.
There is.
Just, especially with it being the last one, they kind of have my nostalgia like around the neck. But I do think we also absolutely should keep in mind the fact that, yeah, there are some bands that get booked that is unsavory, and there are some things or lyrics of bands.
I laugh right now. I feel like Kevin's not the kind of guy that would ever be like, I'm doing this to be a dick about it, but I laugh because I think that he's subtly like, he knows how to be a smart ass, like in a way that people don't always like acknowledge. Like people hate him about these like questionable bookings. But the promo video for Warped Tour right now uses that Make Out song. Crazy.
That's the lyric video band I was talking about.
And you know that band is going to be on tour this summer, because why else would they have the rights to sync that fucking song? And they're just not playing the song that everyone hates so much. But every time I watch that video, it comes up on my Instagram feed, I laugh because I know deep down Kevin's like, this is a good joke. Like, this is a good joke. Like, to him, it's he's the kind of it's petty and like
he feeds off tears kind of thing.
He feeds off the rage. It's amazing. I love it so much. I do want to talk about one other thing before we go. We might pause and I'll do the other thing. And
we can always come back to. Yeah, I'm not doing anything until the show, pretty much. So we can do whatever you need.
We might have to pause. Inside Baseball, James has to take another interview in the middle of this interview, and then we'll come back.
That's cool. I got plenty of time, so.
We don't talk about film on this very much, but you and I talk about film on Twitter. So yeah. I want to know why you think Get Out is the best movie of the year.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I have to have a list of all the Best Picture nominees in front of me again. Get Out's ever since I saw it in theaters in February.
It's a year.
It blows me away that we're even saying that a freshly released February movie is getting Oscar buzz. I get that there are some like little problems along the way, like with certain things, but I don't know, that movie just knocked me on my ass, and I can't not say that's still my favorite movie of the year. Not even of the 9 nominees. That's my favorite film of 2017. Excuse me.
Really?
I forgot what year we're in, but yeah, I can't talk that movie up enough. It's
keep talking. You're fine.
You know, I'm gonna take a break. Hold on.
No, it's cool. I like Get Out. I almost said not quite, which is a completely different thing. I like Get Out as much as the next person. I find this belief. I get really weird anytime I see people being like, it deserves to win everything, because nothing deserves to win everything. And Get Out and Lady Bird and Three Billboards to an extent are movies where people are like, everything, and you're like, no. Maybe like
I can definitely cherry pick. I don't think that, I don't know, out of the 5, I wouldn't give Daniel Kaluuya Best Actor out of those 5.
No.
I wouldn't. I would debatably give it screenplay, but that's just because I've kind of had mixed feelings about Three Billboards. Like when I first saw it initially, I loved it, but after hearing some of the criticism surrounding it, especially from people of color, film critics that are people of color, I kind of have like distanced myself a little bit and like backed off it a little bit and like had kind of reconsidered.
Don't let the internet change you.
No, I mean they're fair things to consider.
Some points are fair points.
Yeah.
My thing is like I saw Martin, well, however you say his last name.
Shkreli?
No, the guy that did.
Oh, Martin McDonough.
Yeah, Martin McDonough.
I don't know why
I always say McDonough, and Martin McDonough, the guy that wrote Three Billboards, for those.
Yeah.
I saw the other day that he did an interview where he was like, I never said the racist cop is absolved of his sentence. He was like, I don't understand why you think, because it ends the way it does, that he is absolved. Like, life doesn't work that way. It's not black and white that way. And I felt that when I saw the movie, I felt like, to me, the ending of that movie, no spoilers, is fitting, because I feel like that's kind of how grief works, and they both are grieving in their own ways about different things. Specifically the sheriff, once we get to that kind of head point. But grief works in such different ways, and then I feel like at the end of grief, it's never like you wake up and you're like, everything's better now. It's more just like, well, I guess we're going to keep waking up, so we have to go do something. And I feel like the end of Three Billboards are those two characters being like, well, we've done this as long as we can possibly do this. So let's try this. And maybe it's not the right thing. And they even say that when they're like, do you really want to do this at the end of the movie? And they're like, well, we'll figure it out when we get there. But it's more just like... I will say I love the ambiguity of the ending. Yeah, where it's just like, I just like the idea that they're like, we both have to move on for different reasons, and maybe we'll find our absolution. I feel like that last scene is them being like, let's go searching for absolution. Whereas so many people want to be like, no, because you kind of like him. You can't like racists in movies. I'm like, you probably like a lot of racists that you don't know are racist. Like, you might be surprised how many nice racists you know.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is about my feelings about the movie. I'm gonna see it again in theaters. It's finally showing in Jackson, where I'm from. I want to watch it again through the lens of how people saw it and critiqued it. And I'll say more about it then, but I definitely I just have backed off and distanced myself a little bit, but I still do like it quite a bit. I don't think it's definitely not the best. I think I will say after I saw it, it was next to Get Out. It was my favorite of the 9 nominees. I have not seen Phantom Thread yet, but I will. But aside from that, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see it again. That's all I'm going to say is I'd like to see it again.
And we should touch on my favorite. So my favorite is The Shape of Water.
Okay.
I mean, I just think there's nothing like it for starters. There's nothing like Get Out, but I feel like The Shape of Water is a wholly unique cinematic experience, not unlike a Paul Thomas Anderson movie like There Will Be Blood or something like that, where it's like, well, there's only ever going to be one of these. Like, there will never be another Shape of Water. You know, we'll always just talk about, like, before this, it's The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it took us like 60 years to get here. And when people, that's the only thing we can compare it to. It's like, well, I guess Monster and Lady, Creature from the Black Lagoon. But I love that uniqueness where it's not only that it's the only one, but it's the only one, and you feel like they can't even make another one. We're like, well, you've done it as good as you can do it on the first try, and that's amazing to me. Whereas Get Out is like wonderful criticism, and it's acted really well, and it's surprising, but I feel like so much of what I guess the argument comes down to is, are we looking at film from the perspective of it's meant to define the culture in which it's released, and in which case Get Out is without a doubt the best movie of the year in my mind, if it's supposed to be reflective of the culture in which it exists.
I see.
But I think if we're talking about from a more of a technical standpoint, or from pure filmmaking and the idea of cinema supposed to be a door into another world and an effort at escapism and originality, then I think you have to give it to Shape of Water. But I appreciate the cultural demands of Get Out.
For sure.
Like,
and I know you have to do your interview, so
they're running late, so I literally gotta. We're trying to.
Are they going to call you?
Yeah. So it'll just interrupt, and we'll just move on.
Okay, cool. Well, if I get interrupted, heads up. But no, I think I don't know. Like, I think at the same time, you kind of have to appreciate how culturally relevant that Get Out feels. I think. I don't know. I just look at that movie, and I'm so impressed with how. You know, do you mind if we stop right now and just wait? I want to kind of form.
Well, I was going to actually say that.
Before I get interrupted.
Yeah, we can actually pause it right here. We'll pause. We'll be back. Good job, James. And we're back. Hey. So the interview that we paused the show to do didn't happen. So you're hearing it here first. I'm still late for my deadline. So what's new? Well, we were finishing up on the Get Out thing, but
yeah, I don't know. I just think. I don't know, every year you kind of have to look at the movie. I think it helps to look at the movie in the scope of the cultural climate as well, and I think no other movie did that as well as Get Out this year, so I think that is a big part of it, and contributes a lot to how well I think it was written, and how the kind of terror that it brings on in its performances and everything like that. So that's the only thing I really wanted to say about it. I think it's great, and I think it helps a lot too that even though it came out in February, I still feel as strongly about it, and I've watched it at least 3 or 4 times. I only saw it once in theaters, but I've watched it on just on DVD and stuff.
What was your favorite movie from last year that didn't get like a big nomination this year?
Last year, let me open my letterbox real quick, and
because I've been contending that I think Only the Brave got
Thank
through.
you. That was the first thing I thought of.
It's so good.
That movie's awesome.
It's so good and so much. No one cared. I don't know why we didn't care.
I think a big part of that was unfortunately, because of a lot of the wildfires in California and stuff like that. That a lot of that kind of
subject matter.
The subject matter, I don't think people really want to run out and see it.
Come watch a movie about wildfires.
When you were trying to escape reality, have that put in front of you. But that movie's so good and so well written, and the arcs are really great, and
they make you care about a blonde Miles Teller.
It's pretty good. I don't know how the hell they did that.
As soon as you appear, you're like, oh, that's.
I was like, that's
Miles.
a choice. And I love Miles Teller.
Yeah.
Whiplash is one of my favorite movies, but yeah.
I was looking forward to that movie for so long, and I was like, this movie's going to be massive. And then it got buried, and I was like, what is happening?
Looking at my letterbox of favorite films of 2017, Baby Driver, I'm really happy got technical nominations. That's all I really expected.
It might win sound editing.
I think it's going to win sound editing. That or Dunkirk, I think is going to win film editing, but I think it's in the conversation, which is good. Sure. I think Brad's Status. I'm not surprised it didn't get a nomination.
You're the lone person that's rallies around Brad's Status.
I love that movie, and it didn't get really seen that much, but I really loved it. I guess I really resonated in a lot of ways to it. I think the idea of having like social media, like everyone puts their best foot forward online and stuff, and that's become so prominent that it makes you kind of feel like shit once in a while. And I feel like I saw that at a time in my life too, where like I was feeling low and like I wasn't yet at a point where I was doing the thing. Like I don't know, like I was kind of bummed the way that I was unsure of where my life was going and stuff, and it really resonated with me. So that was kind of a factor that came along with it too. But no, that movie's really great. I think it's really special, and I would definitely go see it again. Only the Brave for sure. I'm not surprised that Stronger didn't get a nomination, but
Stronger too.
I really like that movie a lot. I think it has a 96 or 97, so a lot of people like it. But
I think it was released too early. It's too close. Too close to Patriots Day. We weren't having Patriots Day. We were having Stronger.
Right.
And I also think I'm a real big Oscars junkie, and I think the September release window is just too risky.
That's what happened with Only the Brave.
It worked for Argo, and that's why we always get like a political driven film sometime in that period. Stronger is the example this year, but it's the same basic idea. Mm-hmm. I feel like September's just it's questionable. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's why the Florida project got swept under the rug, is it debuted way too early, way too wide.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And that's probably my favorite movie that I get nominated. That and The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah, I still need to see Killing of a Sacred Deer, but I started watching it and I had other things popped up, but it is very good from what I've seen of it so far. And let's see, I think that's about it. It would have been nice for Tiffany Haddish to get nominated for Girls Trip, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That's still my favorite comedy of the year and favorite comedic performance of the year. And it bums me out, too, because if Melissa McCarthy can get nominated for Bridesmaid for the exact same type of role, which I think Tiffany Haddish honestly did a little bit better version of. Melissa McCarthy's great in Bridesmaid, so don't get me wrong. But to not get nominated for the same type of role, and for Girls Trip to do pretty much as well, maybe a little less than Bridesmaids box office wise, so seen by the same amount of people, kind of raises eyebrows. Those are the big things, like nothing else huge.
Yeah. I'm looking at your letterbox with you, so I know if you're
yeah, I'll pull it like that. So
everything we agree on. I just watched Professor Marsden the other day.
It's good. It's good enough. It's
a little slow, but
it's kind of cool. I haven't really seen a lot of movies tackle polygamy.
I just bought Happy Death Day.
Have you watched it yet?
I haven't watched the alternate ending, but I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic. Wind River is one of my favorite films of last year.
I liked Wind River.
Not enough people talking about it, but
yeah.
It's
so funny because I don't know why the rest of my list isn't loading. It would have been nice to talk about movies that
it was
I
Bad
hated.
Moms Christmas, the last one on that list.
No, last that I'd seen, I liked that movie enough.
I saw that movie in Texas by myself, and I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, I saw it in a pretty packed theater in Jackson on a Sunday afternoon, and
they're fun.
Me and the 100 other moms there were enjoying it.
I like hanging out with those characters, even though I think holiday films are widely trash.
Yeah, like what are some that you can think of that
I also hate? I hated Daddy's Home 2 for the exact
Daddy's
same
Home 2 is garbage.
It's garbage, but it's mostly garbage because of how hard it leans into being a Christmas movie.
Here's the bottom of my list if you want to.
Emoji, yeah.
Emoji Movie's the worst.
I can't believe you have Baywatch so low.
Why?
I giggle at Baywatch. The last half more than the first half.
That movie tries way too hard.
She's laughing at me right now.
Baywatch is.
Listen, okay, I agree that the guy who gets his dick and balls stuck in the lawn chair in like the first 5 minutes, I was like, this is bad. But then I couldn't help enjoying the end of it. I was just like, I guess I like this. I don't know why.
Well, it's so funny because I think that the dick and balls scene is kind of a perfect way to summate why I felt about that movie. Like, how can you have a gag like that fail so spectacularly and like not make me feel anything for it? Like, oh, I guess he got his dick in a chair.
There's nothing worse in a comedy than the moment when the whole thing stops for a gag that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, that movie is barely 5 minutes in when that dick joke happens, and it either works for you or the whole thing comes off the rails. And you're like, holy shit. And the movie stops. Like, they literally stop moving to address this dick in the chair. And you're just like, what are we doing? Why are we...
It's not... And, like, it's so funny because like you said, it comes to this ass-grinding halt.
5 minutes into the movie. For no reason.
Yeah. Like, there's no context or
and there's no script for that moment because it's all very clearly them just winging one-liners. Because it's like, it's edited in that way that's like, just one-liners.
Yeah.
Someone's
And
like,
it sucks too because the Rock and Zac Efron are both capable of very funny things. I really like Neighbors a lot. I've gone back to that movie a lot, and he's actually pretty funny in it.
I don't know the for lack of a better word, the fat kid's name.
I don't either. I can't.
But he's also in Californication, and he just plays that character, just like a fat, nerdy perv. But it works. It's funny. He's very funny in that.
Okay, movie. I've not watched Californication, but no, I definitely believe you.
Yeah, he plays like Hank Moody's. I don't know. He has a role, but it's basically that role, and I was just like, oh, he's doing more fat, perverted kid stuff. All right, so let's wrap this up. Oscars are coming up. We talked about Oscars. What do you Black Panther this weekend? You already got your tickets?
I don't have tickets yet. I need to figure out what I'm doing this weekend because I'm going on Thursday night. I'm going to see Set It Off at the Shelter in Detroit. I was actually thinking about staying the day here and going to the Sleeping with Sirens show.
I'll be at that show.
But I'm not a huge Sleeping with Sirens fan, but I do like Set It Off and the Gospel Youth. And my friends and former critics are actually opening. I helped them try to kind of like they did one of those poll things where it's like, hey, like suggest bands that we should ask to be locals on the show and. I just added former critics to the list, and I tagged my friend Jess Vaughn, who's the vocalist. I said, hey, why not give it a shot? And they were the #1 band by like a huge margin, and they ended up getting asked. So I really wanted to see them and support them, so that was cool. I do want to see Black Panther. I should be able to knock it out this weekend for sure. And that and Phantom Thread, I'd love to knock both those out this weekend.
All right, yeah, I'll see Panther. I'll see Black Panther this weekend.
Yeah.
Our good friend Molly Hoodleson will be in town this weekend. So
oh shit! Where's she from?
She's from New Jersey.
Oh wow! Okay, that's cool.
She's in town this weekend. And so she'll be here. We'll have a podcast for everyone.
Nice.
You're
saying something about Oscars?
We have to go see the Bella Thorne movie.
Oh yeah, the Bella Thorne has this new movie that's doing like a limited Valentine's Day release. It's gonna be trash. But I'm pals with Mod Sun, and so we support all things Mod Sun in this house.
Nice.
In this house, we support Mod Sun.
And all
Where's
things
that
related to
tweet?
Mod Sun.
Yeah, and all
Mostly
things.
just Little Fag.
Yeah, there's a rapper named Lil Fag.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't listened to his music, but
okay.
I've seen that name, and I'm like, oh, that's a thing.
It's a thing. We talk about it in the Mod Sun interview, and even sitting across from him, who has a song with Little Fag, I was just like, so about Lil Elijah Daniel,
the person
known as Little Pretty Hot and Gay.
That's not what it stands for. I'm gonna tweet him and say that now.
Holy shit!
Is this what it should stand for? Like when people say you're fat, pretty hot and tempting. So when I say fag like that, I just assume pretty hot and gay.
I mean, he's got it tattooed above his eyebrow now, so.
Can't go back from that.
No matter how hard you try.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming by, Landon. You're actually in my house. Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at IGotDefeverman. That's IGOTDEFEVERMAN. I write sometimes for Substream, and you can follow. I'm also the co-host, like I said, of Say What You're Thinking. You can follow us on Twitter at SayWhatCast, and we are going to record this Friday, and episode 3 should be out on Monday.
And hopefully they'll let me be on it someday.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, we haven't really had guests yet or anything, but I'm totally open to the idea of like saying, hey, we're reviewing these 2 records. Come on, give us your thoughts on it.
I come on and we could just review Brad together.
Just not tell him.
Say, hey. Like the first album this week is Brad LaPlante by Brad LaPlante. I'll be like, wait, what?
He's like, what?
And I'll be like, exactly.
I don't know,
track 1 sucks.
I don't know. This guy changes his Twitter bio like every 6 minutes.
We're coming for you, Brad. We know you're listening.
Rest in peace.
When you hear this, Brad will be dead. All right. Anything else? Are we missing anything? Anything you want to point out or promote or talk about on the gram? You're seeing Brockhampton tonight.
I'm seeing Brockhampton tonight.
Shout out Brockhampton.
I'm seeing Set It Off in Detroit on Thursday.
Any other upcoming shows we can find you lurking at?
I'm seeing Kyle Kinane at the Loft on Monday. I'm passing out flyers after that, so see me there.
Oh, is it the Loft on Monday?
Yeah, it's
then
almost.
I might have a reason to go.
I have a +1 if you want to use it. If you want to meet me there,
I might need it.
All right,
see what time Molly flies.
I think there are 4 tickets left, so I would buy one. It's sold out, and you can use my +1.
Well, the Loft in Lansing, folks.
And then seeing Cupcake at the Crowfoot in Pontiac, and maybe Silverstein Tonight Alive at the Crowfoot again. And then that's it for February.
That's it for February.
Yep.
Any other March?
Oh God, March is crazy.
Okay.
Phoebe Bridgers at the Pike Room on the 1st. I'm going to Chicago to see Tyler the Creator at Aragon Ballroom. I have not been there yet. I'm excited. It looks amazing. I'm seeing Hoodie Allen at Adrian College. That'll be interesting. He's with Jesse McCartney.
I didn't even see that he announced that.
I'm Knuckle Puck at the Loft in Lansing, and then I might do the Knuckle Puck show in Toledo as well, but I don't know if I'm going to stay the whole time because I work the next morning, so I would probably just go for Free Throw and Hot Mulligan for the second one, but I think those are the big ones. I know I have other ones in March, I just cannot think of them off the top of my head, but that's a pretty big list, I would say. Yeah.
Future guest on the show, Hot Mulligan, out March 23rd. It's really good. Have you heard it?
The new album?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I need to ask him for it, honestly.
Okay.
I've done press with them before. I actually premiered opportunities on Substream, so.
Well, there you go.
Shout out.
All right. Well, shout out Hot Mulligan and Cupcake, because apparently Cupcake is the fan of this apartment
Cupcake
today.
is lovely.
And yeah, you can find Landon online everywhere. We tweet at each other all the time, and maybe at a theater near you. What's your theater in Jackson for people that are traveling through the state?
It's so funny. There are two theaters that are across the street from each other, and they're both big chains. It's so funny. There's the one I go to mostly is the Goodrich Quality Theater. It's just your pretty standard like 12 screen,
yeah.
12 screen. Yep, GDX 12 screen like plex. And then there's AMC across the street, and it's funny. I went to go see Paddington 2 there, actually. I'm so bummed we didn't get to talk about Paddington 2, but that's okay. And it's right across the street. It's an AMC, and it's 8 screens, but it's so oddly constructed. I can't really describe it because like some theaters you'll have to go down really, really long hallways to get to, and there are other theaters where it's like on an angle. So like the seats are like on an angle, and you like have to like position yourself so you're straight on at the screen. Like it's so weird because I go to the movies there by myself like all the time when Goodrich drops the ball and stuff, because they drop Paddington 2 really early, so I'd go to the AMC. But both theaters are fine. I just prefer to go to the Goodrich.
Paddington 2 for president.
Paddington 22.
Paddington 2020 for sure.
That movie was great.
In this house, we ship Paddington.
That is the best movie of 2018 so far.
Yeah.
And I've only seen 3 movies, but.
I have seen way more. I think I've seen almost everything that's come out this year so far.
Do you have a movie pass?
I do have a movie pass.
Nice, I do too. I have
paid for a few, but yeah.
I've seen Paddington 2 and The Commuter and
Cloverfield
Paradox.
Oh,
those are the only 3 I've seen, but nothing else. Nothing else has really come out. Black Panther's coming out.
I saw that. I saw 50 Shades. We saw 50 Shades.
How was that?
I made that by choice. She loved it.
Loved it.
I was just like, It was 89 minutes long. That's what I thought of it.
Is it really that long?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that. I thought it was way longer.
No, it was quick. It was 3 acts, very quickly.
Damn, that's efficient. Respect.
If I have to hold your hand while you cry watching Paddington 2, you have to go to 50 Shades with me, so fuck off.
And there you go. That's the truth. I did cry during Paddington 2. How do you not, though? The end is so sad.
I didn't cry.
All right. Well, thank you, special guest Jesse. Okay. Thank you for coming by, Landon. I'll talk to you.
That's a nice way to end it.
That was a nice way to end it. That was me kissing Landon. Okay. Thank you again for coming by, man.
Yep, for sure. Thanks, man.
Yep.